Hey kids, how you guys doing? Hope this break's doing great for you. Mr. Hale back here, and we're going to start with, again, the universe, but this time talking about our solar system. What objects and what are some of the major objects in our solar system? So we're going to go over some of that right now. So let me scroll down here. We're going to go over the planets in order and take you from the sun all the way out to the Oort cloud. But first, before we do that, we're going to go to a slideshow. So let's start. Give it a second. Okay. The planet and our solar systems, I take this from another place, as you can see. But objects in our solar system. Our solar system is made up of the sun, 8 planets, their moons and satellites, about 166 in our solar system, and dwarf planets, comets, asteroids, and meteors. Kind of a picture of all the different objects that are out there. You will need to know the planets in order. Okay, and here is one way of doing it. It goes Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and no longer Pluto. Okay, a quick way of learning that is each little mnemonic. My very eager mother just served us nachos. Whatever it is, you do need to know the planets in order, and hopefully you already know those. So, here are the planets in order. You can kind of get a relative idea of the size. Mercury really small compared to the sun. Venus a little bigger. Venus and Earth about the same size. Mars, Jupiter, the largest of our planets. Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. The planets in our solar system can be broken down into 2 types of planets. You have your inner planets, which are normally rocky, and your outer planets, which are normally gas. This is normally divided by the asteroid belt, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, how Jupiter affected the asteroid belt. And so here's a basic look at it. Okay, the sun, the inner planets, the asteroid belt, and then the outer planets. Let's go over what some of these things look like. So here's a basic picture. You can see that little blue hash mark in the middle. That's the asteroid belt. Then you got Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, the asteroid belt. And then Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. And then we do have out there that little idea called Pluto, which is no longer a planet. So Mercury is the closest planet to the sun. It's the shortest of the orbits. It's only about half the size of the Earth's moon. It has no moons itself, and it's so hot that it can't support life that we know of. Venus is about the same size as Earth, and it's the hottest planet because it has a really, really thick atmosphere. It can get up to 900 degrees there because of the thickness of the atmosphere. It has no moons. Okay, but it is considered our sister planet because it's roughly our same size. The Earth is the only planet that has liquid water that we know of, and we know that can support complex life. We have one moon, which happens to be the largest moon in the solar system when you compare it to the mother planet. Mars is called the red planet because of its red iron oxide soil. It has 2 small moons. Okay, then we normally have the asteroid belt that's there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But now the outer planets are these gaseous style planets. They're much larger, made up mainly of gas. Jupiter is our largest planet in the solar system. It has a thin ring, about 60 moons, plus moons. Saturn has a wide, bright ring system and about 60 moons. Jupiter has the most. Uranus has about 27 moons, and it itself also has a ring. Just so you know, Uranus actually was hit by an object, so it's actually pointing. Its north pole points towards the sun. Neptune has about 13 moons. It also has a faint ring, and it's considered to be the windiest planet on the solar system because of the winds that go there. Quick review. The planets that have rings, all the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, all have ring systems. Something you do want to know. Okay. Here's basically a picture of some of those planets, not to size, but to give you an idea. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Okay. Looking at that diagram's actually wrong. So, here are the planets in the relative size comparisons. Okay. So we have Pluto, Mercury, Mars, Venus, and then Earth. Just so you know, that sun should be a lot bigger, but the sun, we can fit about 3 million Earths inside the sun. Okay, so the sun is really large, but that gives you a basic idea of what it looks like. But let's talk about this asteroid belt. To talk about the asteroid belt, we're going to come out here to this picture. the orbit of Jupiter, and the orbit of Mars. If we looked at the orbits, there should be a planet that should have formed between Jupiter and Mars. But Jupiter is so large, and its gravitational force is so strong, that every time that planet tried to form, Jupiter's gravity just crushed it. And thus, every time Jupiter goes around, it basically crushes it a little bit more, creating our asteroid belt that's there. It's a planet that actually never formed. Okay. Now, to help review, give me a second, we're going to go back in. To help review, here are planets in order: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, the asteroid belt, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Now we got to get to the outer parts. Now that we're outside, we have this thing called the Kuiper belt, okay, which is another asteroid belt that's a little bit farther than Neptune, that Pluto's part of. It's actually part of a debris field. We get out to this little purplish, that multicolored rainbow there. That's where the end of the solar system is, and we call that the heliopause. Okay, and then the last thing we have is this debris field that's out there from the interstellar winds called the Oort cloud, a debris of material that's being bombarded, hitting the solar system's heliopause and creating a debris field that's out there from the solar winds. So, this is Mr. Hale signing off. I hope you guys have a good night, and if you have any questions, make sure you keep in contact with me. This is KD2LPM for K2GSG signing out.